joining me here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. And we've got a few things to talk about. Thank you to the College Football Playoff Committee for providing me with things to talk about. But also, the Warriors murdered the Lakers last night. Kobe Bryant continues to look old, which reminds me that he's very old in a similar way to how Peyton is old. And Peyton Manning is just, he's an interesting person to talk about, especially here in this town. Peyton Manning lives here in Chattanooga. He went to the University of Tennessee, obviously, and that's why he's got such a huge following here. And he's been one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, and statistically, he is the best regular season quarterback that ever lived. And it's not close. It's not close. So over time, when you watch Peyton Manning and the development of his career, it's kind of sad to see that the Denver Broncos are a good team, and they're an even better team with Brock Osweiler at quarterback. Or as I like to call him, Brock Lobster. So we're going to talk about Peyton Manning, and we're going to talk about Kobe Bryant, and just people being old. We're going to talk about Johnny Football. That's right. Johnny Manziel back in the news cycle again. I actually tried to duck this story. Like, I tried. There was a point where it's like, oh, Johnny Manziel's back. I'm going to hide from him and not talk about this. Surely he will disappear. Except, of course, like the worst magic trick of all time, he won't disappear. Just not disappearing. It's frustrating is what it is. You try and hide from stories that you don't want to talk about, and they're not going anywhere. They're just not going anywhere. So we're stuck with Johnny. We're stuck with John Jones. We got the tale of two Johnnies. They're very similar to me, and I want to talk about that. John Jones, the UFC light heavyweight champion. He's basically returning, and his redemption tour is once again starting. And I hate redemption tours when it comes to, oh, okay, I know I messed up. Time for me to go to the public. Time for me to set the record straight on this. Time for me to make amends. Look at what I've done to show I'm a better person. But like when it gets to be the second and third time that you're having to go make amends, then guess what? You don't mean it. Not wrong on that one. It feels like you don't mean it if we have to do this again. And looks like we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
The great Keon Rose, this is Mr. Judd. And I hear you talking about Johnny Manziel, and I'm really surprised that you do not know what is wrong with Johnny Manziel.
I don't think that Johnny knows what's wrong with Johnny.
Yeah, I can sum it all up, and I think you will agree. He attended Texas A&M.
Well, that's part of the problem.
I think that's most of it. I
hear you on that. Like, look, attending A&M is already a huge problem. But
I think, and that puts him behind the eight ball. And he just doesn't have the intestinal fortitude, courage, or character to get out behind that eight ball.
I hear that. Look, it's just when life puts you behind you. Look, also he chose to go to A&M. Johnny is paying for his bad decisions.
Well, see, he's made bad decisions most of his life. Then, if he chose to go to A&M,
no, he did. He chose that one, and that's a problem.
So then I think you're right, man. You do a good show. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving too, Mr. Judd.
Thank you.
That was Mr. Judd of the Mr. Judd Show. And listen, Johnny Manziel is interesting to me, not just because he went to A&M, because like I watched Johnny Manziel play football and it made me feel guilty to watch A&M football, but he was so much fun in college. And that style is not necessarily translatable to the NFL without understanding how football works, like having an understanding of how the game mentally is demanding that you recognize defenses, understand coverages, be able to change the play, change the formation at the line. So you've got to be able to understand things. And Johnny wasn't asked to do a whole lot of that in college. And from what I understand, he's been picking it up in the NFL since he's, dedicated more time to it. And now we've got a situation where Johnny Manziel is starting to lean back to his partying ways and things like that. I find it just difficult to talk about. It's really hard because, like, I personally root for people to do well. Okay, I don't root against anybody. I don't look at guys. I don't see them with their problems and with their issues and then just want them to fail. I'm rooting for Johnny. Like, let's get this right, man. If you're having a problem with some kind of drug issue or alcohol issue, I root for you to do better. And he went to rehab earlier this year, and it's sad. It's kind of sad to see him slip a little bit, but we don't know all of the information. We don't know what he went to rehab for. People assume it's alcohol, but we don't know that. We have no idea what he went to rehab for. And I like the wild, aimless speculation. Like, this is what happens all the time. We're just assuming alcohol. So you see Johnny Football with a bottle of champagne, and you're like, oh, looks like he fell off the alcohol wagon. Really? You don't know that. You don't know what he went to rehab for. Could have been weed. It could have been cocaine. It could have been any substance. He went for substance abuse. I mean, he could have gone to rehab for a video game addiction. We don't know what he went to rehab for. And I think the wild speculation about what he did was that's reckless to me. That's very reckless, but that's how we operate in our media world. We have an idea as to what we think it is. And so we start to analyze what we don't know. It's actually an unknown. It's actually an unknown. That's ridiculous. We've just started speculating wildly. And that's crazy to me. We don't know what he went to rehab for, so we don't know if he has failed in his rehab. We don't know if he's relapsed. We don't know. That's reckless. That's very reckless by the media that I've heard on a number of shows, people speculating that he went to rehab for alcohol, and then we just assume. And then off of that assumption, if Johnny Manziel chose to go to rehab for alcohol and then failed to continue to remain alcohol free, we start talking about how sad that is. I've heard that on a number of shows, a number of national shows, which is lunacy. Quite frankly, it's lunacy. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. I'd like to talk about college football, specifically the new college football rankings that have been released. Okay, the College Football Playoff Committee has released the new rankings. Number 1 is Clemson. Still, number 2 remains Alabama. Number 3 is Oklahoma. The Sooners are back. And Iowa. For the first time in the top 4, Ohio State plummeting all the way to 8. I mean, these rankings have gotten shaken up, and we've got, for most of these schools, we've got a game or so to go. And what's not in the top 4? No Notre Dame, for starters. I would have thought, for sure, Notre Dame would be in. I understand that you want to put no loss Iowa up in there. I get it. I really do. No loss Iowa. I think that you want to put them up there, but man, I don't know how you put them ahead of Notre Dame. Notre Dame has played so many good schools, and they only lost to Clemson, who's the number 1 team. Like, if you're going on, look who you've played, quality wins, quality losses. Notre Dame has a number of quality wins. Notre Dame has one very quality loss, and according to the committee, the most quality loss of all. They've lost to the school who was number one and continues to be number one. To me, that issue is, there's a clear discrepancy there because Iowa hasn't really played anybody yet. Iowa wins out, then yes, I suppose you give it to them, but I'd still keep Notre Dame in the top four. I like this issue of Baylor hanging around number 7. They've kept their season alive. They did ruin Oklahoma State running into them, and I like that they're up ahead again. I think that if Baylor wins out, okay, I don't see why Baylor shouldn't be in. Now, the Big 12, of course, is going to make things once again confusing because you've got Baylor at 7, and like I said, Oklahoma at 3. I guess for this, Oklahoma should be on top because Oklahoma did beat Baylor and beat them pretty soundly in their head-to-head matchup, and we saw the head-to-head matchup play a huge part last season with TCU and Baylor when they played head-to-head, and TCU beat Baylor, but the Big 12 not having a championship game ended up hurting them both. In this one, the Big 12, should they award the champion to Oklahoma? Because they can't tie again. That's what got them in trouble last year. They tried to get greedy. They tied TCU and Baylor, and neither team made it into the top 4. The committee puts a premium on winning your conference. So you've got to get in. You've got to be the winner. You can't tie. I don't think the Big 12 will make that mistake again this year by making somebody a co-champion. But at the same time, I'm not thoroughly convinced Oklahoma is way better than Baylor. And the more that Jarrett Stidham plays for the Bears, the more experience that he continues to get, the more I'm not convinced that Oklahoma's league's better than Baylor. And I know they were pretty much well handled throughout that game. But I'm not 100% certain. Now, part of it is I really don't like Oklahoma. I'm not an Oklahoma fan. I'm a Texas fan, and as such, I do dislike Oklahoma a great deal. But I am looking at this relatively objectively, and I'm saying I'd like to see a Big 12 championship game because for me, I want to see if Baylor and Oklahoma can match up again. I'd love to see that. Because I'm not so certain Oklahoma wins that a second time around. And of course, Florida falls to number 12, as you suspected they would. They were previously hanging around in the 8th spot, but that win against Florida Atlantic that they had on Saturday feels like a loss. Feels like a loss. I'm telling you, nothing is worse than what happened there for them. They've had a series of victories that have been so ugly against teams that they ought to destroy. Series of victories that have been so ugly feels like a loss. Feels like a loss. I can't stress that any other way. When winning feels like losing by the Florida Gators, that's the book that's being written right now. Not just them, but more specifically them, because they're the team that, to me, I thought they had a really good chance to try and make it into this top 4. Yes, you're going to need an Alabama loss. But again, you win out, you play Alabama in the SEC title game, and you beat them. I mean, you've punched your ticket. But if you're going to have wins that look like this, gosh, I can't even say that you could beat Alabama. I don't think the Gators have a chance. Not with their struggles against Vanderbilt and Florida Atlantic. I don't understand that at all. And I understand struggling against Vanderbilt somewhat because of their defense is actually rather elite. But that offense doesn't score, and they give you the ball back a lot. No reason not to beat Vandy and beat them by a lot, not just 9-7. No touchdown scored for Florida in that game. That's just bizarre. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And we're streaming live on YouTube right now. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio. We're the first thing that comes up, and you get to see what my face looks like, the inside of the studio, and more. You are listening to Clutch with Keon Rose, and we'll talk a little bit more Johnny Manziel, John Jones, because I like the parallels there. And I like the parallels of Kobe Bryant and Peyton Manning. So we'll have plenty to talk about here on this Thanksgiving Eve on Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Celebrate the holidays with cheer and basement bargain prices at One Stop Package in the Sunrise Market Center, Sunny Daisy. The brand new One Stop Package beverage store on Old Dayton Pike, just north of the Thrasher Light, with the best prices in town. Enjoy the lowest prices on beer, wine, liquor, and soft drinks. Hey, mention you heard this ad on Hot News Talk Radio and get 5% off your purchase. That's right. Mention you heard this on the radio and you'll get 5% off. The brand new One Stop Package beverage store in Sunny Daisy. Their prices are always the lowest prices in town. The lowest prices you'll find in the finest of adult beverages. The brand new One Stop Package in South Sunny Daisy at the Sunrise Market, featuring great prices on gas, bread, and milk. The Sunrise Market just across from Charlie's in Sunny Daisy. And remember, always drink responsibly.
Get 10% off every case of wine.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. My guest this week is former Congressman from Ohio, Dennis Kucinich, who says a Department of Defense is not enough. The United States needs a Department of Peace, which is committed to avoiding wars. Is Kucinich on to something? Find out this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, ya!
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd, right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Looking good out there through the afternoon with some sun, highs of around 60. Tonight, fair, not as cold, lows of around 40. For Thanksgiving Day, nice weather continues, highs back into the lower to middle 60s with partly cloudy skies, still looking dry and pleasant through Friday. Old Man Winter is coming back soon, but Dodge City Ski Shop will keep you and your family toasty warm with long underwear, wool socks, and Columbia jackets. Dodge City Ski Shop, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
John Jones is different from Johnny Manziel. He really is. They have a similar story arc. I think there's a degree of poor decision making in their life. Obviously, The both of them went to rehab, and there's a lot to speculate on there. And I think that because there's an opportunity to speculate, we just do it. It's like, oh, we can. That's there. So let's just do it. Let's not substantiate things and get deeper into information that, oh, there's a person that went to rehab. We don't know what they went to rehab for. Let's just start the wild, aimless speculation, because that's what we do, not just in the media, but everybody consuming the media. We live in the TMZ age. We just want information. We want it as fast as possible, and we don't necessarily care about how or where it came from. Like, is this something that we can even trust? It's crazy. But John Jones, if you remember, the UFC light heavyweight champion, he had his belt taken away from him in April. He got into a car accident. He fled the scene. He was arrested. He came back to the scene. I mean, there's a whole lot of weird things, and now he's trying to resurrect his image. He's trying to show contrition. He's trying to look sorry for what he did. He talks about, his rehab in a video that he released. And, John Jones is a guy that, like, at first people thought he was a really nice guy. And then it feels disingenuous. Like, when you hear the things that John Jones has said to people, like, behind the camera, you're just like, wow, this is not good. Like, this is not good behavior. This isn't a good way to treat others. I know that, okay, this guy, you're fighting him and maybe you don't like him very much. And I'm referring to Daniel Cormier. But the things that he was saying to Daniel Cormier, I mean, terrible stuff. It's just terrible stuff. I for one, can't condone just acting like that. And I understand, like, if that's who you are, that's who you are. But then don't pretend to be the good guy. I'm a huge fan of Russell Westbrook, because Russell Westbrook is a little rude, a little crass, but he doesn't try to not be that. That's who he is. If you think that that's not a good thing and you're trying to be better, that's one thing. If you know that's not a good thing and you're just hiding it, you can't do that. Don't hide things from people. Like, don't in your life. Like, if you're not a nice person in your life, hiding it is not going to help. That stuff comes out eventually, and it comes out usually against the people that you love, the people who are very close to you. Don't try and hide stuff. It's one thing to try and change. It's another thing to try and hide. John Jones, he's hiding. And his thing is he's always talking about, every time a new thing happens with John Jones, whether it's the car accident, like this time where he had the car accident, then he fled the scene, or if it's the drug stuff, like the last time where he failed the drug test and it was cocaine in his system. He's always talking about, well, I'm maturing as a man, so here's this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, you're constantly maturing. When do you get mature? There's, at some point, one of these decisions has to be a good decision. Okay, everybody has a maturation process. We're all maturing, okay? Muhammad Ali once said that if you think the same at the age of 50 as you did when you were 20, you wasted 30 years of your life. We're all maturing. If you think the same at 50 as you did at 45, you wasted 5 years of your life. Okay, we're all maturing. I get that. But these are the same mistakes on repeat. These are the same poor decisions on repeat. And we talk about Johnny Manziel because Johnny Manziel has a similar thing. Johnny Manziel in college had a huge party reputation. People were worried. Like, is Johnny focused on football or is Johnny focused on partying? Because his teammates are out there and they're relying on him. And Johnny seems a whole lot of concerned with Johnny. He's not very much concerned with football as much as Johnny Manziel is concerned with Johnny partying. So he gets drafted, he goes into the NFL, and the issues about his maturity continue. Like during training camp in his rookie season, he would go to training camp during the week, fly out to Vegas for the weekend, party, and then come back. And there was so many pictures taken of Johnny partying in a pool. Johnny with a rolled up dollar bill in a bathroom. And I don't know what that went. I'm not going to start wild, aimless speculation myself, but rolled up dollar bill does have a meaning. That has its own meaning. And there were all of these pictures of Johnny just flooding the internet of he's doing this, he's doing that. And it just doesn't appear that you can be focused on football and do that. Which isn't to say that he shouldn't have a good time, which isn't to say that he should just eat, sleep, and breathe football, which I understand is a thing that we want. He should be able to chill out. He should be able to go blow off some steam, go have some fun. But if you're flying out to Vegas every weekend, man, you're not focusing on your job at all. You're just not focused on it at all. And it showed. When he got his opportunity to play, he looked lost and bewildered and like he didn't know what he was doing. The game of football looked very foreign to him. He looked terrible. Enter this offseason, Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel shows a new commitment to excellence. He starts to pay attention more to his film studies, to get more into the playbook, according to the Cleveland Browns and their people. And he enters himself into rehab. He checks himself into rehab. We don't know what for. Nobody said. He hasn't said. Okay, and I got a text from my girlfriend during the break because she was listening, and she was saying that we have a taboo about mental health in this country. We don't talk about mental health, and as such, like we've been talking about mental health, I think, more recently in this country, but it's such a recent conversation. We don't know anything about it. We're very uneducated about mental health. So Johnny Manziel checks himself into rehab. It has to be alcohol because that's all we know. Like, it couldn't be anything else. So we start the wild speculation. We have no proof. We have no basis for anything. Johnny hasn't said what he went to rehab for. Nobody said what he went to rehab for. We just assume alcohol. So when we see him with alcohol, everybody assumes, well, he fell off the wagon. What wagon? What if Johnny went to rehab for video game addiction? Then maybe he didn't fall off the wagon. You don't know. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. We're talking about Johnny Manziel and John Jones because they're both two guys that are interesting to me because they keep seeming to find themselves in these positions where they need to be redeeming their character. They are eternally repenting. And at some point, it would seem to me that you've got to stop repenting and be repented. Like, if you've really changed, we can't keep hearing about how you've changed. We've got to start to see it. And that's everywhere in life. That's everywhere in life. We've got to start to see the change that you are proclaiming to have made. Okay? It's all about what you do. Okay? It's one thing if you say, look, you've seen people, they're born again Christians. They get baptized, everything, and they've accepted Jesus. And then, wait, why don't you look like a Christian? Like, why aren't you acting like it? Like, there's a certain amount of time that you look at somebody and go, this person isn't acting like what they say they're doing, so I can't say that they believe that. You can't say that John Jones believes that he's maturing as a man because he continues to make the same mistakes. Everyone's always growing. I get that. And if you are, because I know I definitely am, good on you. But at the same time, you're always going. When are you going to get there? When are you going to get there? And that's where I'm at with John Jones and Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel had an opportunity to be the starting quarterback this week. Last week, he plays his best, not last week, but the week before, he plays his best game as a professional. 370 yards against the Steelers. He looks good. All of the things that we had heard about Johnny, how he's rededicated himself to the game, how he's starting to understand it, how he's starting to put it all together. All of that rooting for Johnny, I was like, hey, he's finally worked it out. the team has a bye week. They have a week off. And in that week off, video of Johnny Manziel partying surfaces. And again, the partying is not necessarily the problem. The problem, of course, is that Johnny Manziel is holding an entire bottle of champagne to himself. And he's running around. He's taking selfies with everybody. His party has gone public all over the internet. And Johnny Manziel comes out in his own defense and says, well, videos can be old. Yes, Johnny, videos can be old. But there are 2 songs in that video that aren't. Future, the rapper Future, there's a song by him in there that came out while you were in rehab. So it couldn't have been last year. And there's a song off a mixtape with Drake and Future that came out in September. So it couldn't have been before September, and you were playing football after that. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that video's not old. Just not passing the old detection test here. That video's not old. So what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, why not have a party that's pretty low key? Don't take pictures of everything. No video. You know what I mean? Like go under the radar. I wish that people would look at Derek Jeter as an example for how to do that. Derek Jeter lived the life. But we don't know about it. There are no pictures. You go to Derek Jeter's house, allegedly, he makes you leave your cell phone in a basket by his door. You're not taking pictures of Derek Jeter in his house. You're not taking videos. Nobody's catching Derek Jeter saying anything controversial, doing anything controversial, because Derek Jeter had his life on lock. And it's not that hard. It isn't. I'm not saying stay completely off of social media. Okay, because I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm on Facebook a lot. Okay, so I understand the plight of social media, but you don't have to put your whole life on there. If you want to be on there, you want to see what other people are doing, you have something you want to say what you got to say. But you don't have to put your whole life on social media. That's a choice. That's a choice. And you don't need to take pictures of all your food. You don't need to take pictures of every little event that you're doing, every twist and turn, unless you're a Kardashian, because that's how they make money. They've turned their life into money. They've monetized it. If you're not monetizing your life, you don't need to be on social media putting everything on there. You just don't. Good decisions. John Jones, not making them. Johnny Football, not making them. And then they still tell you they're maturing. Where? I don't see it. And I don't see it because it's the same mistakes. It's the same mistakes. It's not different mistakes. It's the same ones. And they're the same public mistakes. Like it's not like you've got a mistake with a single person. You and somebody else have a disagreement. You and somebody else, your styles are different or clashing. You are getting caught with cocaine multiple times in public. You've got a problem. If you are getting caught partying all the time when you should be in your playbook because you're going to be the starting quarterback next week, you've got a problem. And the Cleveland Browns head coach, Mike Pettin, not having it. The starter is now Josh McCown. Johnny Manziel's not even the backup. He's the third string quarterback behind Austin Davis because people can't trust you. If you keep making the same mistake publicly, you cannot be trusted. And I'm all for giving guys second chances. I think Johnny deserves another chance. But why keep putting yourself in a position to have to keep earning them? Why? Doesn't make any sense. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose, Kobe Bryant, Peyton Manning. We know what they have in common. Let's talk about it next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240. Celebrate the holidays with cheer and basement bargain prices at One Stop Package and the Sunrise Market Center Sunny Daisy, the brand new one-stop package beverage store on Old Dayton Pike, just north of the Thrasher Light, with the best prices in town. Enjoy the lowest prices on beer, wine, liquor, and soft drinks. Hey, mention you heard this ad on Hot News Talk Radio and get 5% off your purchase. That's right. Mention you heard this on the radio and you'll get 5% off. The brand new one-stop package beverage store in Sunny Daisy. Their prices are always the lowest prices in town. The lowest prices you'll find in the finest of adult beverages. The brand new one-stop package in South Sunny Daisy at the Sunrise Market, featuring great prices on gas, bread, and milk. The Sunrise Market just across from Charlie's in Sunny Daisy. And remember, always drink responsibly.
Get 10% off every case of wine.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
I'm the type of guy that likes a big breakfast, a couple of eggs, bacon, and some gravy and biscuits. I get that at Wimpy's. I know they have specials at lunch every day. That includes a big meat and three menu. At night, I want some good comfort food. Maybe some smoked brisket, pulled barbecue, or ribs. They've got that too. Wimpy's the type of place where you can go in and have a good conversation, catch up what's going on in Saudi Daisy, and have some great food. That's why I go to Wimpy's. You know where it's at, on Dayton Boulevard, right across from City Hall. That's Wimpy's. Give them a call, 423-332-6201. Did you hear me? It's 332-6201. Wimpy's. They're even on Facebook at Wimpy's. I know your mouth is watering just like mine, so let's go to Wimpy's.
This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. It is a wonderful day here in partly cloudy Nooga, Tennessee.
They would have had a much better chance against Oregon. But if they're able to win this game and win their division and go and play for a Pac-12 championship, it'll be awful hard for the administration to not hire Clay Helton, even though they pretty clearly don't want to. Hasn't the silence been deafening from the administration at USC? Like, they don't want to praise him. They don't want any attention about the quality play that he had going with USC because I don't think they want to give him the job.
It's very interesting. I had a very good discussion this week with somebody that is tied in, and there is a huge name in college football that told USC, depending.
This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. Let's try that again and tell Colin to stay out of my show. He gets 3 hours. I get 1. And I want my whole hour. I'm greedy that way. But I was going to talk about Peyton Manning and Kobe Bryant because I was watching part of the Lakers and Warriors last night. Told you last time, just I make time in life to watch the Warriors if I can. And that wasn't even intentional last night. Just went out with my girlfriend and my brother and her mom. We were just, going out to get something to eat. They had the games on. So we were starting to watch the game. And I mean, the Warriors just annihilated the Lakers. There's not a whole lot of breakdown into that game, except this is the breakdown here. Warriors offense good, Lakers defense bad, 40-point blowout. The end. The Warriors are really good. are really good. That game was over before it really started. 16-0 are the Golden State Warriors. But we were watching Kobe in that game, and Kobe looks terrible. Like, he just looks so old. The miles have caught up to him, and it's obvious. Like, it's not just obvious, it's so obvious as to be hurtful. It is so obvious as to be hurtful to the eyes. And I'm always on the side of the legends. Okay, the people say that, okay, this guy should stop playing because he's going to ruin his legacy. I don't think so. And I've said it before multiple times on the show, going all the way back to like maybe the first episode. I'm always on the side of the legends. There's going to come a day where you're not even going to be able to get out of bed well. Play the game as long as you can. Play as long as you can, because your time is coming where you're not going to be able to play the game at all, much less very well. If you want to play the game badly, that's better than not playing it. These guys have, and the reason why they got to where they got, they have a tremendous passion and love for the sport. And it doesn't make any sense to say to a legend, like, you're gonna ruin how I feel about this, so stop playing. Okay, because it does make me feel bad. When I watch Peyton and the dude can't throw to the sidelines, it makes me feel bad. Peyton is a guy, and you know what, Kobe too, to an extent. They play the game mentally. They're highly intelligent players. The high basketball IQ that Kobe has, and what do we call Peyton Manning when he plays football? A chess master. Peyton Manning is out there playing chess. Okay, he's manipulating a defense. He's warping it to whatever he wants it to do. You're stuck trying to guess what Peyton is doing. He's already 4 moves ahead of you. He knows how to manipulate you. He's already figured you out. The problem is that when you get old, your body can't do the things that it used to do. That's one less piece that you don't have on the board anymore. Okay, Peyton Manning cannot throw the ball to the sidelines. He doesn't have the strength in his legs because he's got a foot injury, he's got a quadricep injury, he's got a rib cage injury, and his neck still has nerve damage. Like, Peyton Manning's just not going to be able to throw the ball to the sidelines very well. And teams are just daring him to throw it to the sidelines because they know the ball doesn't have enough velocity to get there. They know the ball can't reach there in time. They force Peyton Manning to throw to the middle. And he has to. He doesn't have a choice. And because you know where he's going with the ball next, Peyton's not a chess master anymore. He's just playing checkers. It's gone. You've taken away too many pieces from him. You could be a chess master if you want to, but even I could be the chess master if you take away his knight, his queen, his bishop before I start the game. Even I could beat some chess masters that way. Peyton's missing his pieces because his body can't do them anymore. His body can't go to the sideline anymore. His body can't go 20 yards downfield anymore. He just can't make those throws. And Kobe can't jump. And I'm telling you, that's a huge, huge departure. That's not the same game anymore. Kobe's not playing the same game as other people in the league because he can't jump. Okay, and I say this growing up as a guy that I watched old Michael Jordan. That's how I wound up stuck as a Wizards fan. I was so excited that Michael Jordan came back that I became a Wizards fan. I watched almost all of those Michael Jordan games. But the thing is, he couldn't jump. You'd still have some great games out of Michael. Had a game where he dropped 50. But jumping is like half the game of basketball. Michael can't jump. His airness is grounded. Flight 23 is grounded. Michael Jordan can't jump. That's a much easier guy to defend. Kobe can't jump. Peyton can't throw greater than 20 yards. That's an easier guy to defend. And you say what you want about Tom Brady. Tom Brady can't go deeper than 20 yards either. But Tom Brady can still throw to the sidelines. He's still got that weapon. And it's a huge weapon because that's 2/3 of the field, each sideline. Like in terms of playing field, your receiver, when he runs a 9 route, he's running along the sideline. That's where he wants to be. He gets an inside release and starts to go up the field, and the DB is going to work him back towards the sideline. You need to make sideline throws. That's happening. Peyton can't do it anymore. And it's hard to watch. Like watching Kobe last night, Kobe, his 5th shot was an air ball. And it was just ugly. It was hideous. And it hurt to watch because I've seen the greatness of Kobe Bryant. I've seen the entirety of the prime of Kobe Bryant's career. And it's hard to see this. It is. But at the same time, my mindset is, as long as he feels like he can keep playing and as long as someone is going to pay him to do it, he should keep doing it. Because 10 years from now, where we see Kobe and him playing badly is hard to watch, Kobe's only going to be able to imagine playing. You're not going to be able to do it. I say do it because while you can, you've got a finite career in athletics. When it's all gone, it's all gone. And there's nothing left. So you're a legend. Keep playing until there isn't anything left if you want to. Because you're not going to have another chance. It's not going to come back around to you. You know, that's the thing, and you're going to miss it when it's gone. You see a lot of athletes stay in the media. Isn't that weird? Athletes hate the media. They do not like us because we say things, we report things. Sometimes those things are true. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes we speculate. But we say things about them, and they don't have a say in the matter. So why is it that when they're done with their careers, they join us? Why is Ray Lewis on Monday Night Football? Because they can't stay away from the game. You wish you could go back. And that's as close as you're going to get. And a lot of us in the sports media got here because we couldn't play the game in the first place. This is as close as we were going to get. This is as close as we were going to get. And we're cool with that. We can't miss the game. We never had it, but you had it. You got to take advantage. Play the game while you still can, even if it looks awful. If someone's going to be able to pay you or going to want to pay you to do it, then go for it. But in addendum to that, okay, in addition to that, we have to be critical of you. When Kobe Bryant is not passing the ball and taking a lot of terrible shots, and I mean, some of them are just dreadful, like in the shape of any offense, this would be bad. Then, you know what? We've got to be critical of you. Peyton Manning chose to play in a game in which he knew his foot hurt. He threw 4 interceptions in that game. He breaks Brett Favre's yardage record, yes, but he threw 4 interceptions in that game, and they lost the game that they have a much better chance of winning with their young quarterback, Brock Osweiler, or as I like to call him, Brock Lobster, because his face is kind of red. I like the Lobster. He gives him a better chance to win than Peyton does. He does. And I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan, have been my whole life. I like the guy. Okay, and one of the things growing up that my father tried to teach me through showing me Peyton Manning was how hard you have to work to be good at something. The work ethic. That if you want to be good at something, you've got to spend the time working on your craft. Peyton Manning didn't just get good. He worked harder and longer than anybody else. I learned that lesson from Peyton. I appreciate learning that lesson from Peyton. I'd love to meet Peyton to tell him that I learned that lesson from him. But here's the thing. We can't stop him from playing. He's all dinged up. His legacy is going to be that he continued to work harder and longer than anybody else. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. You will not see me in 23 hours because tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So happy Turkey Day, everybody. Remember to stay thankful. And I'll see you on Friday. Be opening up Friday with Mr. Judd filling in on the David Tulis Show. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Looking good out there through the afternoon with some sun, highs up around 60.